I think real estate investing is like planting a tree. They say it's like planting a tree. When was the best time? 20 years ago. When's the next best time? Today.
Welcome to the Bulletproof Cashflow podcast. Let's get into the show.
Hey everyone, this is Agostino. I'm so excited to present to you a very interesting individual today. She's remarkable. Here's a woman that got her start in real estate when she just with house hacking a duplex in Los Angeles to now having well over 1,000 units. She has been featured on Fox, CBS, NBC to talk about real estate and help people get into the real estate game. So a remarkable individual that I think you're going to really enjoy this podcast. Now, with all that, I'd like to welcome Monick Halm to our show. Monick, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Agostino.
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to this for a while. So guys, if you like what you have to hear, go ahead, reach out to the Facebook group at bulletproofcashflow.com/group. Of course, if you enjoy the show, please go ahead, like, subscribe. It helps us out tremendously. So now let's go ahead and let's talk to Monick. So Monick, tell us a little bit about how you got your start in the real estate game.
I got my start really by accident. I was never taught anything about real estate investing. I was always taught you go to college and you go to grad school and you get a job. And you know, in my family, it was like you need to get a job as a doctor, lawyer, professor, engineer. Like that was what success was. And of those choices, I chose law, so I became a lawyer. Super unhappy as a lawyer, but that's a whole other story. And the only thing I'd ever been taught about real estate was you should buy your own home. So I went to buy a house, and I live in Los Angeles, which is a very expensive market. And this was back in 2005. And even then, to get a starter home, a semi-decent house in a semi-decent neighborhood, not talking Bel Air, Beverly Hills, just a neighborhood without drive-by shootings and things like that. It was upwards of $600,000, $700,000. And so even though I had a six-figure income as a lawyer, low six figures, I couldn't buy a house by myself. So a friend of mine suggested that we buy a duplex together. And he would live on one side, I'd live on the other side. That was the original plan. And instead, we ended up finding this one property that had a larger downstairs unit, a smaller upstairs, this back house. And we each took a bedroom in the larger unit. And then we rent out the upstairs, rent out the back house. We even rent out our basement. And I fell into house hacking before I knew that was a thing. I was like, these people are paying my mortgage. This is great. I still didn't think of it as a way to leave my miserable law job or even as a way to generate income. It hadn't crossed my mind. When I met my husband, he had a duplex. Then we ended up getting a single family rental together. And after the market crashed in 2008, 2009, and houses went on sale, we started to flip houses. That's when we got more into real estate. And then in 2016, late 2015, early 2016, we learned about syndication. And we just started bringing groups of investors together to purchase larger properties.
Hey, Agostino here, and I would love to connect directly with you. Text the word books to 202-410-4202 to receive weekly book recommendations from me.
Wow. It's funny because I was in the same sort of boat, right? Where I actually had a condo and rented it out, and someone else was paying the mortgage on it. And it didn't even occur to me that I can turn that into a business. I was stuck in a miserable IT job. I was running like a large enterprise IT group. And I'm like, now I look back at it, it's like, it was so clear. It's ridiculous, right? And but
Hindsight's 2020.
Hindsight's always 2020. Exactly. So what do you do these days? Now I know that you've been featured on numerous media channels. So tell us about what's going on these days. How are you helping people get into the real estate game aside from syndication?
Yeah. So, when I went to my first syndication seminar, I was learning how to do this thing, which it was through another accent. I even learned that existed. I always thought that you were limited to your own capital and credit when it came to investing in real estate. So I learned that there was this whole other way. And I was like, ooh, I want to do that. And when I went to this conference, which was super exciting, and I was like, this is how you build wealth in this, like in the world. Like this is it. And the next day was a Friday and Saturday seminar. On Sunday morning, I'm in the hotel gym and I'm just kind of replaying the whole weekend. And one of the things they were talking about is if you're going to syndicate, think about who do you want to work with? Build your brand, build your network. Who do you want to work with? And I'm on the elliptical, and then it kind of hits me. It's like this divine download. I'm thinking about that room that had 120 people in it, maybe 8 of which were women, 2 of which were in the back working. And it hit me that I was like, I need to bring women into this room. This is, and this, my mission to help 1 million women create financial freedom through real estate investing came to me, this download. Not the how of it. I had no idea the how I was going to do. I still am figuring out the how, but the what. And I got chills and everything aligned. And I was like, this is what I'm meant to do. And so I went to start building Real Estate Investor Goddesses, just letting women know that, hey, this real estate is this path that's possible for you. It's not something that you have to do. It doesn't necessarily take tons of time. It's not necessarily, you don't have to be a icky landlord, like a slumlord. So there are a lot of reasons or fears or misconceptions and myths around like that keep, I think, more women from getting into the game. But I have this mission, to do that, to bring women in, and that's my other. So I have the investing business on one side and Real Estate Investor Goddesses on the other side.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's the thing. You pointed this out at the very beginning, where it's kind of like there's a lack of focus because you just didn't know, right? You didn't know that investing in real estate was a thing aside from your own house. And at that point, you probably did what most Americans did at that point. You buy way too much house or you would have bought. I mean, I know you didn't, but it's like most Americans. I did. I know I did. I bought like some giant house with a little money down, and next thing you know, you become a slave to the house. All you're doing is making that mortgage payment. You're paying the car payments. You're paying all these things, and all you're doing is working just to pay everything off. It's rather ridiculous, and I think that for many people, that's essentially what they're doing. But we're not stuck. We don't have to be stuck doing that, right? So, but it sounds to me like what you're doing is really helping people get out of that rut, right? To try to break free from that whole scenario, right?
Yeah. So the goal I define financial freedom as having enough passive income stream so that it equals or exceeds your expenses. So once, that's going, you're working because you want to, not because you have to. So partly, I think the education piece is teaching people that that's possible and that's something to do, because most of us are taught to work for our money. We're not taught to have our money work for us. And so it's a series of paradigm shifts that are needed to go, oh, wait, like passive income, that's a thing that I should look for and I can do. And that's possible for me. And so just, getting people, especially women, thinking in that way so that they can, break free. They don't have to be a slave. You said you hated your IT business. I mean, I was so miserable as a lawyer. And so I'll give a brief anecdote. At one point, it was a Tuesday morning. I remember I found myself in the ER. And when the doctor told me that my appendix had ruptured, I'd be in the hospital several days. I ended up being in the hospital 9 days. And then I'd have at least 30 days afterwards at home to recover. My first thought when he told me that was, oh, thank God I don't have to go to work for at least 30 days.
Oh my God. That's how you know you're in trouble. That's how you know you're in trouble.
Yeah, that's bad. Yeah. Because I had quote unquote done everything right. right? Like I'd done exactly what I'd been told to do all my life. I'd gone to, I'd gotten straight A's, I'd gone to college, I got Ivy League law school. I was in a big law firm on the partnership track. I was doing all the things I'd been told to do. And I was that unhappy that being in a hospital bed with a life-threatening, excruciating illness was better than being at the office. But I didn't know how I could break free from that. I had law school loans. I had a lifestyle to which I'd become accustomed. I had this identity that I'd spent 7 years of post high school education trying to learn, and it was really hard to get out because I didn't know that there could be another way.
Yeah. Well, now you just touched on something there. Do you think that because people get that identity, that it becomes harder to leave? Because the way I see it, and I had this problem myself, is that I identified as like the engineer that went to school. I did my undergrad in engineering. I did 2 master's degrees, and I was going to be this engineer, C-level, CIO, executive type guy. And then all of a sudden you're not, because they fire you because they don't like the color of your shirt that day or whatever. That's the way I felt anyway, and it wreaked havoc in my life. But do you think that that's the reason why other people don't do it, is because they identify as that thing that they went to school for?
I think that's a big reason. That's a really good point. Shifting at the level of identity is huge, and one of the things that I tell my goddesses or my students, really like own into that identity of real estate investor or syndicator, because when you tell yourself that that's what I am, then you start to become that. But I was really attached to the identity of lawyer for a long time. And I had the gift, very challenging gift, of getting fired too when I was 5 months pregnant. And I was 5 months pregnant. It was a week after I just actually told them I was pregnant. And I got fired from my law firm job. And I thought, okay, well, I'm really pregnant. I'm just going to wait until after I give birth. I have a short maternity period. Then I will look for another job in law, because that's what I was thinking. And then my daughter was born in late August of 2008. Maybe you remember what happened in like the fall of 2008. So within a month, the economy was in free fall. And it was not a great time to look for a job, for any type of job. And it was the real estate that saved us and actually got us on this other path. But if it hadn't been for that, I probably might still be a miserable lawyer to this day, because it was such a part of my identity. But I had this gift of being fired before a crisis, and where it was hard to where no one was hiring.
Yeah, but I mean, there's times when I really reflect back on my life, because I didn't realize till way too late. Well, I shouldn't say too late, but later, that real estate was my thing. Because I was. Sounds like we have very similar paths. It's kind of like you work your way through corporate, then eventually you get fired. I got fired. I bet I got fired way more times than you did. I'll bet on it. Oh yeah, well, I got many more times. Yeah, many more times. But you know what though? It's at least now you're doing it. That's the key, right? At least now you're doing it. So I'm sure there's plenty of people listening right now, and they're probably wondering, it's like, oh my God, it's I'm 43 years old. It's too late for me. I can't do this or whatever. I don't want to learn this or whatever the case may be. What sort of message would you have for those folks?
It is not too late. It's funny. I just helped my parents get their first rental property last year at the ripe age of 81 years young. And they're so excited. My mom's like, I'm so sorry I didn't teach you this. I didn't know to do this. I was like, that's okay. You did the best you could. But I think real estate investing is like planting a tree. It's like planting a tree. When was the best time? 20 years ago. When's the next best time? Today, right? You know what you know now, and you just start. Because it's not going to get better later, and it's definitely not too late. And it's really surprising how much progress you can make in so little time when you are employing the right strategies in real estate.
Well, and I think that's the biggest part too, is that it sounds again like you and I were in very similar paths, where early on, once I learned about syndication, kind of like by accident, similar to how you did it, I asked an attorney friend a question. Hey, how do people buy buildings? And he explained the whole syndication model to me. I had no idea. At that point, I've been doing real estate for like 15 years. I had no idea what syndication was, right? Because I was doing single families and stuff like that. But it sounds to me like mentoring and mentorships and getting access to the right people that know how to do this stuff. That's still the best way to get in on this business, in my opinion. Anyway, I mean, would you agree with that or what?
Oh yeah. They say smart people learn from their mistakes. Geniuses learn from other people's mistakes. Right? So you get a mentor, you get a guide, you get a teacher, somebody who has done it before, and you learn from their mistakes and have shortcuts and collapse time frames and just that was definitely how I got into syndication. So I found out through a friend of a friend. I wasn't even thinking about syndication. I was just trying to get a fourplex in Los Angeles because that was the biggest thing I could think of at the time. And so I was telling my friend that it's like, nothing cash flows, nothing makes any financial sense. It's so expensive here. It's like $2 million for a fourplex. That's no cash flow. And he's like, you should talk to my friend, Robert Helms. He's the host of Real Estate Guys Radio. He's coming to LA tomorrow. Come to dinner and talk. So in this conversation with Robert Helms, he's asking about what I was doing. We'd been flipping, but it started getting really competitive. And I was like, I don't want to flip. I want something passive. And, but this fourplex doesn't make sense. And he said, LA is a tough market. I always say, live where you want to live, invest where the numbers make sense. And I went, oh, because until he said that, I thought I had to invest where I could touch the property, drive to it, self-manage it. It didn't occur to me that I could invest outside of where I live. So that opened up the world to me. And then he said, and you can buy that fourplex, but you're limited to your own capital and credit. He said, alternatively, you bring a group of investors together and you can get 100 unit, 200 unit. He started telling me about the benefits of that. And I think my brain exploded when I heard that. I was like, what? Like, that's a thing? It's like, and yeah. And so I told him that I was like, I want to be your groupie. I want to learn from you. He thought I was kidding. I was so not kidding. I followed him around the world, literally learning. But I knew that one of the things I had learned is that if you can surround yourself with successful people or people who are already doing it, you'll shortcut so much from trying to figure it all out yourself. I mean, if I had been by myself, I wouldn't even have known that was a thing. I wouldn't even have known it existed, let alone how you do it. And so just being around successful people who are living the lifestyle you want to live, who are doing what you want to do. Yeah, I think it's the smartest way to get to where you want to go with the least amount of headache, least amount of mistakes, costly mistakes. Real estate mistakes are very costly mistakes. And in community, this is how we're meant to do it.
Yeah. Well, I think some of the biggest hangups I find whenever, like, say, for instance, I'm talking to a potential student or talking to a group of people, and we talk about mentorship, we talk about taking advantage of other people that have done it before. But sometimes many of these coaches, obviously there's a cost of admission, so to speak, right? You got to pay to play, so to speak, to get the access information. And I find it fascinating that some people just don't want to take that step, right? And I mean, to me, it almost seems like, are they serious or not serious about changing their life? Are they really going to let that $10, $15, $20, $25,000 really stop them from living their best life? Or maybe they don't believe in themselves. I'm not really sure. I mean, that's probably one thing that I find is very interesting to me, why someone maybe they don't want to take advantage of that. You know what I mean? It's like just to get access to someone who's done $100 million of deals. And so you don't want to spend $15K or whatever to have a few conversations with them. You might learn something, but they don't want to do it. I mean, it's kind of strange, right?
Yeah, it's like one insight that could save you years, or that could like help you do what they've done. I mean, I've invested probably over $500,000 in self-education over the years, and it's paid back exponentially because every time I do something and I learn, then and I take action on it. That's the other thing. So if somebody is not going to act on the information, they're going to pay. Then don't bother paying for it. But one of the things that I've seen is that people are much less likely to take action on free information. No, and or inexpensive information. It's like the more you invest, the more you are invested, the more likely you are to make sure that you get your money's worth, and you actually then you will take it seriously. You will take action. You will implement, and you'll have hopefully a trusted mentor teacher that will be there to make sure that you get the results that you've paid for.
Yeah, and I think it's funny. I think it's one of those cognitive biases, right? There's so many people I see it on online all the time, right? They'll be like, "Oh, don't sign up for that coaching program. All the information is out there. It's already free. Just go and listen to it." Well, yeah, you could do that. I'm sure. There's a lot of information on syndication. Tons of, I mean, there's podcasts like this. There's all kinds of them. But I think until you really sit down and make that investment, and you get connected with the right person who you resonate with and resonates with you, that is how you make those big changes in your life to get in on this business for real. I think that's the key, right?
I think Warren Buffett says the best investment you can make is an investment in yourself. And when you are investing in something like this, it is an investment in yourself. You're saying, I believe that I will do this and I'll make it worth it. But with regards to all the free information out there, there's a lot of information out there. Some of it is really good. Some of it is not so good. Some of it, and like figuring out what you can trust, what actually works, because there are a lot of people that can just start a blog or start doing it. They don't have the experience, or you don't know how to filter what's important, what steps should you take, in what order do you do these things, and so yes, you can take all the time to figure all of that out yourself and try and do try those things. And some people do that, and they sort of find their way and they'll make it. But I feel like you're going to pay for your education either way. So you're going to pay for it up front, or you're going to pay for it in the middle, at the end. And it's a lot less expensive and painful up front. So
That's right. That's right. I could attest to that. I made some real bad mistakes early on, and because honestly, I did not have a mentor. I had to learn all on my own. And back when there weren't so many people on the internet, that I had no idea, aside from putting a deal together that I learned from my attorney friend. That's all I knew, right? But yeah, I mean, now we know what we're doing. But yeah, it's a very painful and expensive mistake. Painful and expensive mistake. But I guess it depends on how bad, right? But it also depends on how bad you want to get into this business. I mean, I think that's the thing for someone listening to this right now. It'll probably be beginning of the year when you're listening to this, and you had made intent on getting in on the business. Nothing wrong with getting coaches. Nothing wrong with setting those goals and going after it. But getting your head with the right information, getting that information in your head is super, super important. And I mean, I'm sure, Monick, you've met plenty of people that either don't know what they're talking about, or they're dispensing advice and not even bought a single deal. I've met those people, believe it or not. Oh my God, it's scary. It's scary. It is scary. Yeah.
yeah, and you don't know what you don't know until you got that butt in the seat experience, right? So it's really important to invest in mentors, and I spent a lot of time. My husband and I spent a lot of time trying, like, bumbling through ourselves, and we did not. I mean, like the progress we made was exponential, like, 100 times faster and better as soon as we really started to invest. I mean, that first year we went from 2 units to over 1,000 units in 1 year. And that we couldn't have done anything like that if we had guides.
That's right. That's right. And now these 1,000 units, it sounds like you're not doing them locally in California. Then you're doing them elsewhere, right?
Yep. Yeah. So the 2 units that we did have were in California, but then we're investing in different states, mostly in the South and Southeast. Right.
Okay. Good. Excellent. So talk. I know we touched on mentoring, and I know that's what you do with your business. Tell us a little bit about what that entails, what's that about, and how do you help people with it?
Yeah. So I work with women, and we're asset class agnostic, but sharing foundational principles for real estate investing. I don't believe real estate investing is one size fits all. And there are a lot of different ways that people can do it, but I show women how to find a plan and how to do this in a way that works for them, and how to do it in a way that is in the feminine. So as women, we are not just smaller, less hairy men. We really are chromosomally different. Our brains are different. We show up differently to investing and to money and to learning. And so it's how do we do this in the feminine? So, and there's strategy that we teach, and I also focus a lot on the mindset and the psychology. Tony Robbins says that success is 20% strategy, 80% psychology. 80% of people's success is what happens in between their ears, and I think, especially for women, there's a lot of fear that we have before getting into this game. Fear that we're going to lose our money, fear we're going to be taken advantage of, fear that we're going to trust the wrong person, and so it's getting past that fear so that we can take action and get in the game. And so we work on that. Plenty of the strategy, right? Like the actual getting property, because that's what our goal is, to get those passive income streams to create financial freedom. But doing that in the from the feminine.
Right. Well, and it sounds like you actually have a community as well for those women that are in the group or in the program. They're not taking this on alone. Right, they are getting that help. There's like almost like a support group, at least till they're up and running on their own. They can do whatever they want at that point, is what it sounds like. But I think that initial onset, to know that you have a team that's there to back you up in case you have questions, is absolutely critical. I think in this game anyway.
That's a huge part. And real estate is a relationship business, you know that, and so we having this community of other women or people that are all on the same path, doing the same thing, that have your back. It's before joining, everyone agrees that this is we have a sisterhood here, and it's a non-judgmental, non-catty, non-competitive. It's like an abundant universe where we can be vulnerable and feel safe. And there's this really beautiful, very supportive sisterhood there for the women in the group. And I love it. I mean, I created what I felt like I needed. I'd had great mentors and great support, but I was in like this very high-end, wonderful real estate mastermind, and I was the only woman of 19 men. And I learned a lot. It was great, and I was like, I really could use my ladies around, and just this like showing up in a different way.
Right. Excellent. So I know you touched on mindset, because I am a true believer in the mindset, the psychology, in terms of helping people get their head around this business. Do you apply any special type of tools, any special type of I don't know, insight when it comes to helping those people build that tough mindset it's going to need to succeed in this business?
Yeah, I have been since the age of 18 a student of mindset and personal development, and I've done training, and I did coaching certification, neurolinguistic programming, money mastery coaching. I'm like a feng shui expert. I have a lot of different tools, and I'm always learning, and I'm always investing to go and get more. So I need to learn so I can bring it back to my goddesses. So there's not one technique, but there are a lot of tools in my toolbox that I implement, and then I share so that they will have the mindset necessary to be successful, because it's everything. It's everything. And like you had said, one thing you had said before is it's identity is really important. Having that, like the right identity, having this awareness, just being in alignment between like what you think, what you do, what you say. So there's a lot of things that we put in different, we start with that piece, having morning rituals that will support their progress and success. And so we put in a lot of different tools to help them be successful.
Yeah, but I think it's absolutely huge, though. I mean, the mindset, basically switching out that software, and like in your case, getting rid of all that law school, so to speak, and replace it with real estate, and getting rid of all that IT stuff and replacing it with real estate. That actually creates and helps create a whole new identity. And I think it's going to be super, super important. I mean, in my course anyway, I talk about this, and I talk about how we have to really build up the mindset, build up that new identity, so to speak. And that is, to me, that is ultimately where it all begins, right there. When people ask me, "Hey, what's that one book?" It's like, well, I mean, there. I wish it was to say there's one book that you can need to read and that's it. It takes some amount of time to do this, unfortunately, unless of course you get a mentor to help show you the way. And then that's I'm a real big believer in that. Absolutely. So now, Monick, if you had one piece of bulletproof advice for the audience, what would you tell them?
I've gotten so many great pieces of advice through my life, but I think the one that has always really served me is to trust my intuition, to learn to listen to it and to trust it. The things that I have regretted in my life, the most regretted, was when my intuitive guidance was telling me, "Don't do that, don't go there, and I ignored it. And I've never regretted trusting my intuition and learning it. So I am a big believer in that. And, really it may not be logical. Intuition often is not logical. So learning to trust that inner guidance, even when it doesn't seem to make sense, that's kind of the best advice I could share.
Very sound advice. I can attest to that advice because I've done the exact same thing. My gut tells me don't do it, and I did it anyway, and my gut was right. Why did I not listen to myself? Yeah, right. All right. Well, now if people,
you do that enough times, you learn to trust your intuition.
I know. Now I trust my intuition. I know I'm right. I'm sticking with it. So if people want to get a hold of you, how do they do it?
So the best way to reach me is probably to go to reigoddesses.com. REI stands for Real Estate Investor Goddesses, plural.com. I'm also at REI Goddesses on all the socials.
Excellent. Great. All right, guys. So hope you got some insight on how to get into the game. We talked a lot about mindset as well. Greatly appreciate you sticking around, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care.